Welcome back to the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs. I can also be found on Instagram at JoshDJ57. Would love to have you follow me there. And we got some cool videos there as well. And also subscribe to this YouTube channel also to get frequent updates about when we have new interviews. We try to put at least 1 or 2 new interviews a week. And our conversation continues now with Bobby Ocean, radio personality, voiceover talent, and artist continues. And last time Bobby talked with us about how the 3 things that attract people the most are cats, dogs, and cartoons.
Well, yeah, that made me feel good because I'm a cartoonist, and that's how I got into radio. I sent a fan letter into a radio station, and they contacted me and asked me if I would draw the disc jockeys for their survey. This was in Monterey, California at KMBY.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that was your second gig. Or was that your first gig in radio, was KMBY?
Really, it was my first gig because I don't count the very first one. The very first one, I was still hitchhiking across the country. I thought I was Huckleberry Finn. I hitchhiked across the country about 6 times. I just was nuts. And I ended up in Florida because there was a girl there, and I wanted to stay there for a while. So I went into a radio station and lied to them. Told them I worked in the West Coast. I worked at K, and then I just started making up letters. And they said, "Well, let's see what you sound like." I said, "Here's my tape," and I pulled it up, and he took it in his hand, swung it sideways over, and dropped it in the waste can. He said, "No, read this," and he handed me a sheaf of papers from the wire. So I did, and I aced it, and I got the job. I got fired about 2.5 weeks later. And I said, "Why are you letting me go so that I can't make this mistake and want to learn?" He said, "No, it's not you. We found a guy for $45 a week. You're making 60." So that was my first radio job. It was only a couple of weeks. But they say you're not in radio until you've been fired. So I started out in Florida just passing through, really. And I was heading back. I had a job waiting for me in the fall at KMBY, and I was going to go to that anyway, because Don offered it to me. He not only gave me a recommendation when he heard my tape, but he said, "You can have the job here in November when Buzz leaves."
Oh, who was the program director? Don, what was his last name again?
Don Hoffman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bless his heart. He believed in me. Where are we without those people who believe in us?
Oh, yeah.
Even Don Steele would say that. I mean, he had his trouble getting people to believe in him with that wacky delivery of his.
I know it's kind of hard to believe looking back at it, the success he was and becoming morning man in Los Angeles at the age of 28 that, originally had people who didn't, believe him, who doubted him. I worked.
Man, he was afternoon drive.
Yeah, afternoon drive. I said morning drive, didn't I? Yeah, that was Robert W. Morgan in Morning Drive, or Morgan Drive, as he used to say.
Yep. It gets you if you don't say it right.
Yeah. I never met Don or Robert, but I worked with world famous Tom Murphy, who was good friends with Don, and Tom said I only met Morgan once or twice or whatever, but one time Don wanted to, or Morgan invited Don to go fishing, bass fishing, and Don kindly turned down the invitation, and Morgan got upset when talked to him for a while, and Steele said to Tom Murphy, "I'm from Hollywood, baby, I don't bass fish."
When I heard the name, the world famous Tom Murphy, I thought, what an absolute ego trip. So I stole it. I called myself America's favorite disc jockey, Bobby Ocean. I thought that was great. I love stuff like that.
Kind of one up each other type of a thing.
Well, I just liked it. There's a couple of disc jockey names that I really liked. There's a guy back east called Suitcase Simpson, or somewhere. I don't know where he is and what happened to him, but I thought, what a great name that is.
Oh, yeah. Suitcase Simpson. Now, tell us about your journey to KHJ. You were there for 5 years. By that time, I think Paul Drew was in charge of the RKO stations, if I'm correct.
I don't know. I forget where he was in there. He was in the mix, but no, he was. If he was involved, he was at a consultant level, and I never had to deal with him.
Oh, okay.
At first, Charlie Van Dyke was the program director, and we had worked together in San Diego. So he was making. He said, "Sit tight until something happens, because I want you down here with me." And that happened, and I got to go to L.A. to be with Van Dyke from KFRC. And when I was done with L.A., I went back to KFRC, because that's really the best station I've ever worked at.
Oh, yeah.
They just totally support the jock. They did in those days. And the greatest engineering staff. My goodness.
And you were at KHJ pretty much till the end of the top 40 format, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I didn't like it because we were doing a good job. We were keeping it up. We did some amazing promotions, and all you had to do is let us do it, and we would get the numbers. But they kept on messing with us. The fear and the paranoia at the top levels is in major markets is a real thing, and just like you don't always get a good program director, well, you don't always get a good consultant or general manager. I had a general manager once, bring us in to do this work because we're the best. And then we ordered jingles and logos, and then he started getting tight with the money. And at one point he called me into his office and didn't want to get the logo, the graphic logo. Mm-hmm. I said, you have to have a graphic logo. You got to represent yourself. You can't use the one from the previous generation. That's silly. It's small time. He says, can you prove to me that this will make us number one? I said, don't be silly. It'll help us. It's a bunch of things. What's wrong with you? And he got pissed off and came behind his desk with his fists up, ready to have a punch out with me. And I stood up and said, sit down. And he sat down. I ordered him to sit down. And just told him what an asshole he was and how incompetent he was. You don't believe in your own people. What's wrong with you? And you got to believe in your people.
Oh, yeah.
So the K-West, eventually, we didn't stay there because he didn't have the faith. Even Robert W. tried to be there for a while.
Yeah, it's Magic 106, and he was there for about, I think, 2 years. And then I think what happened was, there was one day where he and Emperor Hudson decided to go on the air together. Hudson was doing mornings at KRLA 1110, so they kind of decided to, feel like old times and talk to each other on the air on each other's radio shows. But that didn't help. And then eventually, when Magic 106 went away, they even have Magic Johnson doing the commercials. And Jeff Sir told me the story that Magic Johnson on the commercial had T-shirts that said Magic 106, cologne that said Magic 106, none of which ever existed. And at the end, he said, "There's one thing I'm glad about." And they said that the disembodied voice says, "What's that, Magic?" They didn't call it Dr. J 106. And then they played the jingle. And Jeff told me originally what Magic was supposed to say was, "I'm glad they did not call it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 106," which I understand why he changed that. Because it's a fellow teammate, but Dr. J was on the East Coast, and so not such a big deal. Yeah. But eventually it became Power 106, and Power became number one right when they got Jay Thomas a couple months after their debut, and it's still around, but obviously it's not what it was beforehand. Originally it was like this female-oriented dance music, groups like Stacy Q and New Kids on the Block and Janet Jackson, Madonna, and now it's basically your hip hop station.
Yeah, well, I'm not a hip hop fan.
Yeah, I'm too hip hopped as well. So.
Yeah, well, if they're talk about, I guess I'm old enough now where I'm an old guy, and to me it all sounds the same. Everybody's a hoe or a cop is a jerk or something like that, but it's not really true. They have a lot more to it than that. I've heard some stuff that's actually got it's pretty interesting, and by people I don't want to like. I don't want to like Eminem, but he actually did some good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to like him. What's a white guy doing hip hop? He just does that. Yeah, I'm just not of that ilk. I'm a top 40 guy. I'm a 70s based jock, I guess.
What's your thoughts on this? Because when I was interning, and this was my frustration as an oldies listener, and I was born in 1972, but I loved oldies music, still do. One of my biggest frustrations, now that you're not working in radio anymore, was that they would say, quote, all the great oldies or the best oldies of all time, yet the playlists, even for the oldies format, were so freaking tight that a lot of songs that even number one songs weren't even getting played anymore. I remember Oldies 93 interning there, and they had a bigger playlist than KRF 101, but I remember times when people would request songs that were number one, but we didn't have on our playlist. Like, for instance, I'm Telling You Now by Freddie and the Dreamers. I'm like, we don't have that? We're not playing that? That's weird. And so that was I'm kind of surprised that no public radio stations, at least here in LA, maybe it's different in San Francisco, have like an oldies show dedicated to playing the songs that were hits on the Big 610, for instance. I don't know if they have that in the Bay Area or not, but I'm surprised nobody's, done that for public radio, an oldies show at least.
When people get to be the programmer and music director of anything significant, major, media markets, they take it so damn seriously. They make some key human mistakes right off the bat. Prejudice comes in. And what I mean by that is if it's a black record, then they're all black records. But they're not. Some are different than others, Some are just rock and roll. Some are funky. Some are white sounding. You can't list them all like that. And the same thing with females and other records. You can't just put them in one category. They have more than one category. So a lot of great records that sound fabulous on the radio just never got played again. That's why I'm finding them again on what is it, YouTube?
Yeah,
they got a lot of everything, and I'm hearing, oh yeah, I remember that, the Ponytails,
Born Too Late.
Okay, that has a fantastic saxophone in it.
Oh yeah,
listen to it again. It's just a killer sax. Timmy Rogers, the comedian who sang "It's All Over." God, what a great song that is. It's all over. All over. Back to school again. That was a great song. And there's so many like that. We just couldn't play anymore because you had to play the top 10 of the, it turned out to be 30 records from each year or something. And okay, they were number one and everything, but there's that prejudice again. That's just sales. What about sentimental favorites and so on? So I don't think they started, but they didn't get anywhere near as deep as they could.
No, and even the psychedelic got the shrift on not only the oldies stations, but even the classic rock stations. Like Pictures of Matchstick Men by the Status Quo got played on either the oldies station or the classic rock station, for instance. Or A Question of Temperature by the Balloon Farm, or The Yellow Balloon by the Yellow Balloon, or some songs I thought, or even Bill Cosby. They wouldn't play him today at all, but his version of Stevie Wonder's Uptight, called Little Old Man Uptight, I've played it for people, and they really enjoyed it. They said, wow, this is pretty cool.
That. Yeah, I remember that.
It was like spoken word and singing.
I played the first Cream record in the Bay Area, broke the format and put it on anyway because I liked it.
Which song was it by chance?
What was it? I Feel Free, I think.
Oh, I love that song. That's my favorite Cream song. I just love that tune. Just kind of like a cappella at the beginning and then just break into the instruments. It's just like, wow.
They have some just head blowing music. They got some great tunes. It's not just Sunshine of Your Love or this or that. It's quite a number of them. And the same thing with Zeppelin. Although we've heard just about every song they've ever done on AOL radio or AOR, whatever you call it. But it's fun to hear them again, and I get to play all this stuff now while I'm playing. I got a pool table in my rec room, and I have the TV, this big giant screen thing. And I don't ever watch TV. I just put it on YouTube and listen to the hits.
There we go. It's fun. I mean, it's my niece plays in a rock band. She's about 25 years old, and she's been influenced by the late 60s to early 80s music sounds, and so too is her boyfriend's band. And so it's nice to see the younger people being influenced by the great hits of the 60s and 70s.
Good influences, yeah.
When she was 9 years old, she said to her mom, my sister, she said, "I want to hear Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash." I was like, my 9-year-old niece knows who Johnny Cash is. This is so cool.
Yeah. Good song, too.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask
I get
you.
to play them all now, which is kind of fun. It's playing. When you quit radio, you should have a few things in mind to do for yourself, because you've been going to a studio every day of your life for however long. For me, it's been 50 years. So to suddenly sit home and do nothing would not work for me. So I just gave myself a couple of chores. I got an electric guitar, and I'm teaching myself how to play it. Very slow, very slow. I spent 1 year just working my fingers on the frets, not learning any tunes or anything, just getting my fingers awake. Mm-hmm. Now I'm beginning to teach myself chords. And I like it. It's a fun process. I'm at my own pace, and I don't have anybody tapping their fingers, waiting for me to hurry up and get done. When I am done, I will never come up to you and say, "Hey, Josh, listen to this Stevie Ray Vaughan song I got." I will say to you, "Hey, Josh, listen to this song I wrote." And it'll probably be real simple stuff and a basic country thump a la Johnny Cash or something, because, I'm not going to go crazy solo on this thing. I just want to make music.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the other thing is the pool table. I always wanted to learn how to play pool. I was terrible at it. The guys would get together and play pool, and I'd go with them, and I'd end up holding my stick while they ran the table on me, and they wouldn't teach me anything. "How'd you do that?" They wouldn't tell me. So I got a couple books and read them all and realized, okay, I have some knowledge, but now I have to invest it in the table. I owe this table about 25,000 hours.
Oh, there you go.
And so I'm in the middle of that right now, and I'm getting better. I'm getting the balls in the holes and beginning to learn how to control the cue a little bit, which is the game.
Yeah, soon you'll be ready to invite some old radio colleagues over for a night of pool.
Well, I can do that now.
Oh,
I can finally hold a stick and play with anybody.
Oh,
now
good.
I can actually play. I'm not going to win every time, but who cares? It's playing. It's fun. And besides, if I won all the time, nobody would want to play with me. Just like I don't want to play with them. Just like So yeah, it's a learning process, and what I learn, I try to teach other people if they want to learn. Because nobody taught me, and I found the information. Do you know how to play pool?
I haven't played in a long time. I'm okay, but I'm not really, I'm no Jackie Gleason.
Have you heard you understand the premise of it? Do you know what a ghost ball is?
No, I don't actually.
So either did I. And that changed my entire game. It's just the cue ball. You imagine it to be in the spot where you want to hit that other ball. It's not going to be straight on because you want to hit it in the pocket. You have to hit it on the side somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. But instead of hitting the side of the ball, you imagine your cue being up there tapping it in like that, and you notice something right away. You're not aiming your cue at the side of that ball. You're aiming the center of your ball to where it would be if the edge would hit. So you're aiming the center of your ball about 1 1/8 inches away from that spot.
Wow.
You're aiming for the heart of the ghost ball, which is your imaginary cue ball, where it would be if it was supposed to hit that ball in. If you hit the heart of the cue ball into the imaginary ghost ball, it goes in every time.
Wow.
Yeah, and so what comes next? The bumpers. How do you get it to bounce off the side and go into a hole and that stuff? So that's what I'm messing with now.
That's great. What you're doing in Northern California is very similar to what Shotgun Tom Kelly does in San Diego, invites a bunch of his buddies over to his house for pool.
Yeah, I've been there. But I can play pool now. Those guys could play pool. I wouldn't play them. I don't want to be embarrassed. But now I could go over there and hold my own.
There you
hold
go.
my own stick.
Well, look forward to hearing next time you go down there and see how you do.
Oh, that won't happen.
Oh.
Shotgun and I have since parted ways.
Oh.
When he got his star in the Hall of Fame, that was an obsession with him, and I complimented him on Facebook, and he called me up yelling at me and cursing, saying, "You let the cat out of the bag. You're not supposed to let anybody know yet. You know, you ruined everything. I'm uninviting you to the ceremony."
Oh, no.
Oh, man. You're taking it a little seriously, Shotgun. So I don't call him Shotgun anymore. I call him Smokey or Tommy Irwin. He's okay, but he just, he needs direction just like we all do. We had the classic car event. It's all about the classic cars at Modesto, and KFRC's Rolling Sturgeon radio station on wheels is in support of that. We're not saying it's about us. We are a classic car too, and so we show up in support of it. And we show up at the Classic Car Museum, and people come by and they take pictures and want autographs. So Shotgun shows up. He's not even associated with KFRC. He's got a full cardboard picture of himself and a table, and he's trying to sign autographs like he's someone. We couldn't believe that.
Let me guess, the table was empty, wondering, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
He finally came up and tried to talk to me, and I excused myself. We'll get around. I'll explain to him one of these days what if other people haven't told him yet what's bothering me. Not bothering me, what bothered me. But now, I'm well over that. I don't care about going to that event. Probably wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway, those things. But I'm actually having fun, having a little, what do you call it? It's not, it's having somebody to pick on.
Rivalry or?
There you go. If that, but he's no rival to me, but
I get,
but as a, just have a little nitpicking fun. I also like to pick on Neil Young. He showed up for an interview once at KHJ, and he was all nervous because his record, it was that new Zuma record with the synthesizers. And he was all nervous about it. And I said, look, I'm going to take you back in time in the interview, and we'll talk about other stuff, and we'll get up to Zuma. And then I started talking about the old stuff, and he stood up and said, I don't think you're prepared for this interview, and he left.
Oh, goodness.
And I thought, well, you're unclear on the concept, and also very nervous about his record. Because I was bringing him in, up to the record instead of just having hit him cold, because cold is not a very good record.
No.
But that's that. So I like to make fun of him, and one of the ways I do that is tell everybody his middle name.
This is the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs. We're speaking with Bobby Ocean, and next time Bobby will reveal Neil Young's middle name. Plus, we will find out who his favorite radio personalities were growing up.